Hey, sixth grade, it's lesson 11, interpreting percentages in pie charts. In our last lesson, we used pie charts to answer some questions, but what we knew from the pie charts were specific numbers of people or things. This time I want you to see that this pie chart here has percentages. We are going to use those percentages to find the quantity or the how many of something. Let's try this one. It says Ms. Smart's class of 40 students. This is the total number of kids. I'll write that down really quick. Total. Voted for field trip options. How many students voted for the art gallery? So let's take a look here. The art gallery is 10%. Get rid of all of these so you can see it. The art gallery right there is 10%. So that's not all the kids. All the kids is 40. So we need to find what 10% of 40 is. I'll write that over here. 10% of 40. We've got a few different options. Right. My favorite option is to write 10% as 10 over 100 and say, how many would that be out of 40? The part that's a little bit tricky here is you have to figure out what to divide by. Okay. So a different option that we would have, if you're not quite sure how to do that, would be to take 10%, this number here, and make it be a decimal, 0.1. We know it's going to be smaller than 40, so if we multiply by a decimal, we will get a number smaller than 40. 0.1 times 40, 0.1 times 40 is 4. So that's saying that 4 students want to go, and now I forgot where it is. 4 students want to go to the art gallery. Art gallery. Okay, I'm going to jump back up to this problem here where I said this is my favorite way to do this problem. If you don't know what to multiply by, we can divide 100 divided by 40. Those are the denominators, and I get 2.5. It doesn't look quite right though, does it? Yeah, that doesn't look right. So 100 times 2.5 isn't 40, but what if we divide by 2.5? 100 divided by 2.5. 100 divided by 2.5. Oh yeah, that gets us to 40. So then I have to do the same thing up on the top. Divide by 2.5. 10 divided by 2.5 is 4. So you can see that we got the same answer. 10% is the same as 4 out of 40 total kids. Both ways will get you the correct answer. There's no wrong way to do this if you can get the answer that it's supposed to be. Let's try this again. Same exact pie chart, but now we're going to ask a different question. There are still 40 total students. Now we need to figure out how many more students voted for the State Museum than for the Chinese Museum. Right, so the State Museum is 50%. Well, if you know that 50% is half, then you can find half of 40 by just changing this. Wait, I know half of 40, it's 20. Yeah, right. You could also change 1/2 into a decimal. 1 divided by 2, 0.5 times 40. That'll get you there too. So this was 20 students to the State Museum. Right here, 20 students. Okay, make this a little bit smaller now so I've got some more room. Then there's the Chinese Museum. Make a line. The Chinese Museum was 20%. See it there? 20%. Same group of students that are being asked. So we're going to find 20% of 40. So to do that, I can change it to a decimal. 0.2 times 40. 0.2 times 40 is 8. So 8 students want to go to the Chinese Museum. Looking back at the question now, how many more students voted for the State Museum than the Chinese Museum? So 20 is definitely more, but how much bigger is it? So for our last step, we're going to just do 20 minus 8, and that gets us 12. 12 more students voted for the State Museum than the Chinese Museum. One last example. Ms. Smart's class of 40 students voted for field trip options. How many students voted for the art gallery and the botanical garden? Right? Everybody got one vote, but right now what we're doing is we're saying these two chunks right here, how much together do they make? Right? So I can see that the art gallery is 10%, the botanical garden is 20%. 10% plus 20% is 30%. So we need to find 30% of 40, and then we'll have our answer. 30% of 40 is 0 and 3/10. You can put in that 0 if you want to, times 40, 12. 12 students combined voted for either the art gallery or the botanical garden. This is 12 kids from here to here. All right, so your next assignment is going to have percents on the pie chart, and you will have to find the quantity or the number that represents.